Got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.
Welcome to episode 6 of Coordinated Fire, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast where the dark side may have cookies, but we have Timbits. How's it going, guys?
It's hot here. Awful weather lately.
Those Timbits would have melted today. Yes, I very much chose to do a home office day today. There was no way that I was going to be going out searching for scrap metal. And Titus, actually, as somebody who's in the roofing industry, I cannot imagine
I work outside
what today was like for you, buddy.
Hide.
Yeah, it is record-breaking heat wave right now, and we are not used to this.
No,
we are not.
Outside of that, how we doing?
Good.
Fantastic. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. Yeah, we got some contest winners. Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. So we ran our contest on the podcast here for not 1, but 2 This Party's Over Mace Windu squad boxes. And I am happy to announce the winners have already been chosen, randomly done on the Discord, but I'm happy to announce our 2 winners were a Megalator and Deadly Barracuda. Those were our 2 winners, randomly chosen from the contest. Congratulations. Both were very, very excited to get those This Party's Over squad boxes. We have all of their info, and those will be coming across the border very soon for both of you. Also want to just give a quick shout out here to everybody in our Discord and everybody that dropped the list. Really, really appreciate it. I think I have a couple of ideas that I'm going to drop for another contest moving forward. But again, everybody that's joined the Discord, thank you. Always in the show notes. Kyle always makes sure that they're in there. And thanks for everybody that participated in this one.
Yeah, and honestly, there's been great chat lately. You know, it's awesome that Deadly Barracuda was able to win that box because I've been having some great chats with them in the Galactic Republic chat. We've had a few people that were really active. Thank you guys for jumping in and chatting. I know we certainly love it. It makes me more excited to do this. Just hearing the engagement, hearing the feedback. So thanks everyone. Keep it coming.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely.
All right, let's jump into games played. We've got a few. Titus, I'll pass it over to you first because you were able to grab 2 games this week.
I was. So first game I had was our local Peterborough League game. So for our local league, we do every 2 weeks. Everyone just kind of finds their partner, figures out when you want to play, where you want to play in this case. So for this one, I was paired against Josh Pound, and he lived up to his name. I got run over. I played Mace with Captain Phil and Phil's clones, and then Luke with Obi-2 and Bartu. Josh played Krennic DTS and Shore Troopers with Iden DTE and Death Troopers. And all that protection was just a nightmare for my list to get through to. Mace can still get some good swings into them, Luke can, but everybody else, they have 1 damage on their first result. With Phil's clones, it's then a shove and a heal on the second result. So very frequently I was attacking and not able to do anything. It was rough. Like, it was a good game. We had fun, but he kind of ran me over. Those Death Troopers, they just, if you don't have some heavy damage or enough shoves going through early on your tree, it's really tough, especially with Empire having just good defense across the board. You expect 2 results, but when 2 results don't do anything, it's rough.
I'll talk about them in my game, but the Death Troopers really have impressed me as a supporting unit for Empire. Did Krennic have any impact in this game, Titus?
So, Krennic did later in the game. He was able to, he didn't have a huge impact. He was able to take a point that he shouldn't have been able to and then hold it for a turn or 2. But early game, he got absolutely slaughtered by Mace and Luke kind of double teaming him. They came at him from both directions with a Shatterpoint. Mace came in with the 5-die attack. Luke came in and finished him off, and it was really early game. So Krennic was kind of sidelined fairly early, and it really neutered his activations. It was all the Death Troopers, both the supports and secondaries, running around that I couldn't deal with them. It didn't matter what I did to everyone else. Literally everything except for Iden and Krennic having protection. I can't say it enough. I had a real bad list into that.
Did Obi-2 help much here.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that's part of what kept me in the game for quite a while, was both of our attacks were just really bad. So struggle 1 and struggle 2 both just dragged out. They were both very slow struggles because neither of us could get a definitive advantage, but his overall unit quality just slowly weighed me down.
No, that is fair. I know how are your feelings on Luke? Because I know you and I both, after our last episode, came out of that. You know what? I actually want to get some games in with Luke.
I loved him. So I'm of mixed mind. I really liked him. But I think a big part of that was having Phil and Phil's clones to advance him up quickly, because he can't do that in a rebellion list. The problem that comes with that is Phil's own activations are just garbage. The making entrances ability is phenomenal, but Phil on his own, especially if he gets pinned or wounded, is just really bad. So it made Luke's activations much, much better, but it also meant I had kind of a blank for my other secondary, and I'm not sure the trade-off was worth it. It's the best.
Yeah, this list was entirely around.
It's the best I have felt.
This is entirely
Luke has
around. Fair. This is entirely around being able to, because Phil and Phil's clones can just move Jedi, right? So you've got a list here that can move OB2 in a way that most lists can't. You can move Luke in a way that most lists can't. So I think probably a bad matchup to test this, but overall you do have just the mix of not too much synergy outside of that.
Yeah, like, I think it was fine. I think the list has some legs. Is it the most competitive? Probably not. But, like, it's a way to play Luke in a different way. And if I was taking this into Premier List and I saw something across the table like this, I would not take it, because my supports just can't keep up with the defensive tech that this list is bringing against me. So, it is what it is.
So I also brought a Luke list out for my league game. So I played Luke with Kanan. So I went Sabine and Bartu, and then Kanan took Ezra and the Rebel Commandos. So I went the double dual support and not the Spectre synergy. This list was a lot less about Kanan's revenge trigger, although there is some good things to pop that off. He's still getting a move out of the rebels being wounded, just not getting the attack. Having Luke and Kanan leaves two pretty tough bodies to hold points. Luke wasn't super impactful in my game, so I played against Ryan, who was playing armor with Dooku. Luke ended up squaring off with Dooku and did hold a point very, very well, but also not a super attractive target to attack into. So Luke stood, held a point, which is partially his job. Standout moment for me in this game, and it was the swing of the game. This was a really, really close game. I was pretty ahead in struggle 1. Ryan was able to pull it back with a double flip on an armor turn, that just by wounding the commandos. Was on a bit of a back foot, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to turn it around, but Sabine finished off struggle 1 with an absolutely incredible turn. She was the thing I was hesitant in the list. I feel like Sabine can be very much hit or miss, but she was on point in this game. So she went and did the blow up a point thing. She did 2 damage. That was all that was needed to wound Bo-Katan on the point. And then she attacked and wounded the covert Mandos. So I got a double wound on Sabine's turn for 2 momentum and scored 3. That was enough to close off the struggle. And quite frankly, if I didn't have that play, I wasn't winning that struggle. The rest of it, Ryan took struggle 2 in 2 activations, and then I took struggle 3 in 2 activations. So after a very long back and forth struggle 1, we had a very, very quick 2 and 3. And that was just set up and in the right spots for the flip. Not much to say there. I was overall happy with the list, though. This was a better time playing Kanan than I've had in a while. I'm not super engaged with a lot of Kanan lists with full specters and relying on the revenge trigger, which is very good, just not my play style in a lot of ways. But playing both two body supports and not really relying on that revenge more for just the jump and the heal versus rely on getting that attack. My takeaway from this game, and it was nice to get Luke on the table, but this made me want to play Hondo and Kanan. Chatted a bit in the Discord today actually about that list with Sam. And, swapping Luke for Hondo and swapping Sabine for Callus is a list that I definitely want to get back out on the table. So there might be some more Kanan in my future.
Looking forward to a Hondo resurgence.
I've got some lists. You guys have seen a few of them, and that'll probably prep me enough for our eagerly anticipated Hondo episode.
The return of the businessman. I like it.
Sean, what about you?
Yes, so I am still on my director Krennic kick. So I was able to get 2 great games in with our good friend Brandon, one for the league and then for a second game. I want to preface this first game to saying that Brandon is a phenomenal player who was trying something new. So our first game did go fairly quick. There was some learning involved for this game. He was trying a few things. So the list for me currently is a Director Krennic, Death Trooper Specialist with the Death Troopers, and then Vader 2, Stormtrooper Sergeant with Dark Troopers. We played this on shifting priorities. So I put the V2 Squad, Sergeant, and Dark Troopers on the right side. I had Krennic, DTS, and Des on the left side. First flip was Stormtrooper Sergeant, who went to the middle objective and held it down like a boss. Hunkered with cover, Stormtrooper Sergeant lived much longer than he had any reason to live. Dark Troopers were able to go to the right-hand side objective, and then Krennic held the left to win the first struggle. Krennic on the steel for those that haven't played him. The nice thing is that when he takes over from a single model, it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to bring resources over to his side, because when the tie ends, you control it, and then it's on your opponent to bring those extra bodies over to where he is. And that was kind of the situation, is that like I was holding midline most of struggle 1, and he was having a hard time committing those extra resources. Okay, do I go to the Dark Trooper side? Do I go to the Krennic side? These types of decision making were a little bit tough. And then struggle 2, things spread out. And the other thing I'm finding really good about Krennic as well is that when those objectives spread out and you send Krennic down to an objective, again, it makes it really hard for your opponent to commit to getting to where he is, because you essentially have to bring 2 bodies with you. And that's been an interesting part of my gameplay so far with Krennic, is trying to find those decision points where do I want to take him? What does my opponent have around the map that I can make this difficult in terms of the decision making, where those resources are going to go. So this one again did go 2-0 in my favor. We re-racked a second game, which on Sabotage Showdown, my same list again, but then he was trying a Cad Bane or a Sing with the Super Mandalorians and Armor Bo-Katan with the Coverts. This one went to 3 struggles. This is a list that Brandon is much more tenured with. He has a lot more reps in with Mandos. I think it's been a main list of his for a while. I was able to get a 2-1 win here, but it was much more difficult. Again, Krennic was just able to control a point and hold it down. And he noted that he probably should have wounded Krennic. And I think that was something we talked about pre-show here, Titus, that you found too, is that getting an early wound on Krennic is quite beneficial to try and prevent these kind of problems.
Yeah, wounding him early, it makes him expensive, and on a 5-point list, that's hard to surmount. He could still do things force-free, but it really takes the edge off of that.
Yeah. Also, some of the best games I've had with Vader 2, out of all my time playing him, I think Vader 2 is a great pairing with Krennic because he adds a very heavy hand and then also additional movement on the wound. We'll talk more about that later in the episode. Death Trooper supports, super impressed with them. The dash they give, the protection, like you mentioned, Titus, the early shoves, they are a support that's been really impressing me. And I think one that is kind of stapled to Krennic for me, because Krennic needs that extra movement sometimes to get to a point, because Krennic can take over a point at any elevation. So as long as Krennic can get there with that little extra bit of help from those Death Troopers, and also the cover 1 to help him with more defensive tech, I think they're probably the best support for him right now.
You don't need to sell me on supporting Fire Dash. I have been
supporting Fire Dash,
loving
really
the arcs.
It's great. Okay. I did have one more game. This one was against Sloth 57. I think that's the right number. A little rusty on my Roman numerals. Either way, I was playing my Table Bound Open list, the Cassian, Lobot, Fifth Brother, and Moff, Gideon, Ezra, Dark Troopers. Sloth brought Mace, Pawns, the 212, and Kenobi, Rex, Commandos. So for this, I had an inkling he was going to go defensive, but his other lists were Anakin and Kiadi, and he told me after the fact that Anakin also plays with Kenobi very frequently when he's playing. So I had a secret third option that I had to tech against and didn't know about it. Either way, I went with the Cassian Moff route because I have experience with that into Republic. I feel confident with that into Republic, and it played out similarly to what I was expecting. He had a good start against me with Mace and Kenobi, able to get stuff out, mostly thanks to Pawns, but I quickly was able to take out Pawns and the 212th, and that side of the board ended up being wounded for a good portion of the game. And those were largely the only significant wounds I did until right near the end of the game, but being able to neutralize one side of the board is huge because I can leave someone there and send my tiebreakers off to go fight elsewhere. And two very defensive lists against each other, tiebreakers and lockdown, make they break the tie because neither of us were really getting a lot of kills. And when we were attacking or getting kills, the other person gets to react to it. So it was very much a positional fight. I felt like a really good game. There was a few points where I was concerned, but there were just the sheer weight of tie-breaking power between Moff, Ezra, and Fifth Brother, Lobot having lockdown, and then the Dark Troopers just being Dark Troopers. It was like the opposite of my Peterborough League game, where it felt like I just had qualitatively better supports, and that made all the difference.
That still scares me. I don't know what to tell you. It still racking my brain on...
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want an in-depth on the list, I believe I talked about it in our first episode, and I also talked about it on a Zion's Finest episode, so I'm not going to go too more in-depth here, but it's out there. This one I might stick with for a while. I'm playing it again, I just went, this is nice. It's got no bad matchups.
It feels super good, man.
Yeah, like it's got no bad matchups. It's got no blowout matchups either, but in terms of it feels comfortable no matter what I'm facing.
And it's got your stamp on it too. That's the best thing about it, right? You've proved so many lists that we've known you for so long to put together so many things, and this one I think has a particular, for me at least, a particular stamp on it for you in particular, and I love that for you.
Because on paper, it's nonsense.
Yeah, it's ridiculous on paper, but in the hands of our friend Titus, it does crazy things.
If anyone's looking for a crazy Lobot Rebel Empire list, one to try.
It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. We're going to need to get some games with that because I'm going to need some practice into figuring out what I'm
not helping you learn how to beat me at the GT.
Hey, listen, we're all friends here, right?
You need more practice games with the list. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, but I mean, I can play other people that can play your list.
Lots of Galactic Republic.
Jokes aside, I'm sure we'll get lots of games.
So we had a good sized GT over the weekend. Our friends down under had the Duel of the Fates GT. 28 players. Played 5 rounds of Shatterpoint.
Shout out Red Mando's crew. Killed it.
Yeah, so the Red Mando's team cleaned up here. Congrats to Red Mando 2 for the win. Guys, this was a lot of Republic.
It was, yes. Black Havoc also seems to be a very popular Australian group out there, too. It was like Red Mando's versus Black Havoc.
Yeah.
It's like Red Mando's came out on top.
Yep.
I don't know what war I'm jumping into here, but
2 Mandalorian clans going at it.
That's got to be it, right? No, there was a lot of Republic. And again, this is on trend to what we've been seeing, and I'm going to keep on saying that we need some time for all of this to settle. I think we are seeing a case where top players are bringing this One, because it is very good, but it's also new and shiny and something that you weren't able to play like this before the rebalance. So I am curious to see where this looks like when the dust settles. I'm going to jump into my take before passing it over. I think a big reason that we're seeing the Republic 5.0 list, GT winning list that we're seeing is a lack of mission diversity at these events, because there's a lot of people getting Republic back on the table and out at an event that are really excited to play this. So I totally get it, but when I see out of 28 players, we got 13 Sabotage Showdown, 11 Shifting Priorities, and 3 Never Tell Me the Odds, and 1 First Contact. Yeah, the more spread out missions are going to be more difficult for Republic to keep up with some of the movement that our Empire and Rebel friends have. Lack of actual infiltrate. I know Pawns is there, which certainly helps, but lacking out of activation advances or repositions makes missions that are that spread out a little more difficult. So I'm really curious to see how these full Republic Premier lists would fare in an environment that is a little heavier on Never Tell Me the Odds.
I completely agree. We don't see any Empire until 13th place, which is absolutely wild. And no, I am not saying Vader 1 is Empire. He is firmly Galactic Republic. 13th place, the Chosen One with Iden and the Grand Inquisitor. My takeaway from this event, I agree, Kyle, we have traditionally seen Galactic Republic from our friends in the UK and over here. I think this is a wake-up call for Empire players, that I think my fellow Empire players need to move away from thinking that we can overtake these lists with damage. Iden still is a thing, V2 is still a thing, but the Galactic Republic lists have gotten tougher. And we are not going to walk over like we used to with V2 Iden and Iden Moth. Those days, to me, are kind of gone. If you have not played Thrawn, if you have not played much Moff Gideon, if you have not gotten the new Inquisitors on the table yet, start playing these things, because these are the tools that you are going to need to beat these Galactic Republic lists. And I also think specifically building for Never Tell Me the Odds right now is a fantastic choice for any Empire player. But the main thing is Empire players are going to have to start rewiring their brains a little bit, that we cannot just overtake these lists with damage anymore.
And there's fantastic options there. And to be clear,
yes, 100%.
Iden is still great. There is
no
problem there. But that Grand Inquisitor box, just out of the box, it had such a glow up. And don't get me wrong, we've seen that in some results. We saw that win the American GT. So there's definitely some play here. But again, I think to that point, I think a lot of people put their Republic stuff on the shelf for the last while. And I do think this is partially a factor of just the new shiny and toys that the characters people really love, getting them back out. Even looking at Red Mando 1 and Red Mando 2 with completely different full Republic lists. We've got some Kiadi overlap and some Obi overlap. But then we got Anakin and Ahsoka on 1, and Mace and Jedi Hunter Vader, who's definitely part of the Republic. I love Red Mando 1's list. That is definitely closer to, I think, what I would want to run.
I'm very disappointed he didn't run Vader 1 with Mace, because that's what I want to try out. And it's the one pairing he didn't do.
Looking at that Vader list, he took Wrecker and Phil's clones with Vader. I'd be very tempted to just put Barriss there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's a better spot for her.
I think the idea was just go really tanky, but yeah, I would like Barriss with Vader there as well. And I think Phil's clones are excellent with Vader because of the supporting fire. It helps mitigate the damage that Vader does to your own units. And usually we're just looking at units that have heals on their tree. Well, now you don't have to.
Yeah, the 501st one that he worked there too. He's got Padawans in the Kiadi list. And the ARF's over with Mace, but there's a lot of opportunities to. And again, this is the fun thing about list building with the Republic right now. There is so many different combinations that I think are all really good, which is part of the fun of list building right now, because I don't think we've had another situation where we've had that level of list building freedom in sticking with all a single faction in a premier list.
I'm curious to see if the Empire list here, I mean, we're seeing shifting priorities and Sabotage Showdown, particularly Thrawn taken on Sabotage Showdown. I wonder if these missions were Never Tell Me the Odds, what sort of effect that would have.
I think it changes up the matchups completely. Part of that is still winning a roll off.
That's the dangerous part.
And I also Krennic's the wild card there, right? Because I don't think Krennic loves odds. So I get when building with Krennic, shifting seems probably what I would go towards.
Yeah, both 15th and 16th place Empire players had Krennic in their lists. One shifting, one sabotage.
Yeah, and I get the call there. And that's going to be some list building choices you need to make on both what's the best mission for you and what's the best mission to take into the field that I'm expecting to go into. And that's part of GT prep. That's part of the meta call that you need to make when you're going into that GT environment. I will say there's a couple other really cool lists here though. And we've got Qui-Gon Jinn in second place taking a full revenge list in a way that I haven't seen. There is no non-revenge primary to be seen there. Titus, what are your thoughts on this list?
So I will note that it is broken down between revenge movement primaries and revenge attack primaries. I'd have to see how he played them, but my inclination is that it's in pairings
it was
of
Cassian
one
Anchor.
movement. Oh, it was Cassian Anchor. By and large, yeah, it's someone who can move the revenge character, and then the revenge character can attack or move someone else if you don't need the movement. The Cassian Mando pairing's nice in terms of just trying to deny points. It looks like he only played Cassian Mando in a Never Tell Me the Odds match. I don't know if that's super relevant or if that ended up being his Never Tell Me the Odds counter. I feel like this is one that we'd have to talk to the player to really get a feel for what his intentions were.
Yeah, I think Mando, I've played that Mando list, not with the weak ways, but Mando and Dengar on odds just put a stronghold on a point that is really hard to get through. Yeah, I really like the list. I think it plays with a lot of really good pieces, including a lot of scoundrel pieces. So check this one out.
I'm actually now just reading the list, and Kanan has the wildest list I've ever seen Kanan take. Because it's Kanan with Lobot and Wingard. Okay, I was looking at the verses.
Yeah, the light bulb moment. It has a Lobot in it.
Well, it's also the Wingard.
Yeah, like Leia
Kanan just went to Bespin and recruited.
Straight up snatched from Lando.
And ISB agents with Leia is also a weird one, but I guess they're spies, so that does make sense.
They are spies.
Yeah, this is...
this list screamed Titus.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I was not doing my due diligence, because this is wild. I love this. I want to hear from this guy, because I want to know all about what he was playing this.
I love it. Maybe we'll reach out to Qui-Gon here, get the scoop, or listen to Red Mandos, because I imagine that's going to be a conversation. We'll probably get the chance there. Sean, last one I want to highlight is our fourth place. Brought your first love, Maul Talzin there.
Mother Talzin, yeah, and Maul as well too. Oh, here it is. Talzin, Orsing, Manigard, Maul, Savage, and Super Commandos. Yeah, so we've played this one locally a few times where it's Orsing and Magnagard. I would be very, very interested to see how they manage.
I do think it was only played round one.
Okay, yeah, because again, we've spoken about this on a couple of casts before. Ryan's played this a few times. Those Magnagards feel like a big liability in this list, but overall, it's great seeing Talzin and Maul. Sabotage Showdown seems reasonable for her. Generally, you play Talzin, she takes one side, and then hopefully you get that 60 whatever some odd percent for the second struggle to go in the middle. And then you shoot her right to the middle, and she controls from the middle out. It has always been the way that I've played her on Sabotage.
Yeah, I will say that all the Sabotage and defensive Jedi lists running around, I think Talzin stocks are up. I think she's absolutely got a place as a Republic counter list, and it'll be interesting to see if that plays out.
Yep, and I still like Savage. I still like Maul, Savage together. 10 health. protection, steadfast. I still like him.
Maybe Sean needs to get Taliesin back on the table is the answer.
Maybe I do. Lots to be done before August for RG.
Awesome. Overall, really, really cool event. Moving in to our next, we've talked a lot about Empire and potential here on this episode. So let's jump into our primary of the week, which is no one other than Darth Vader, Emperor's Servant.
Another Empire primary. Woohoo! Let's go. All right. So Darth Vader, the Emperor's Servant, is an Empire primary unit. He brings 7 squad points with 3 force, and overall is a damage dealing primary for the most part in terms of how you play him. His first ability, you don't know the power of the dark side. At the start of this unit's activation, it may remove 2 damage or 1 condition from itself, then refresh a force. This is really, really great for keeping the nasty pin condition off of Vader most of the time. And then getting that force back generally means that you're going to use it on his second ability, which is anger, hate, aggression. One character in this unit may dash. If it does, that character adds 3 dice to his next attack roll during this activation. The attack roll contains 1 or more fail results. This unit gains exposed after the attack is resolved. It's notable for those who have not played Vader 2 before is that exposed does happen after the attack action, so you cannot use any heals, I believe, on his Chien side, so that heal on the second box is no bueno to get that exposed off of him. Third ability, you are unwise to lower your defenses for 1 force. When a character in this unit is targeted by a melee attack, this unit may use this ability after the attack is resolved. If the attack contained 1 or more failed results, the attacking unit suffers 3 damage. Not one that I've used a lot or I've seen used quite often, but again, if you're in a position to pump it at 3 damage, it can be potentially good.
I think with a lot more melee running around, this could be more relevant.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It seems very relevant against his alter ego.
Yes, it does. Perhaps I can find new ways to motivate them. When a character in this unit wounds an enemy unit, after the effect is resolved, another Galactic Empire character may dash. This is a great ability because you are being rewarded for doing the thing that Vader's very good at. You wound, you get out of activation movement. I would say probably one of the better, if not maybe overall best abilities on his card, right? He does the thing he's supposed to do. You get rewarded with more movement. But you cannot hide forever. At the end of this unit's activation, if no character in this unit wounded an enemy unit during the activation, and if this unit's order card is not in the order deck or in reserve, shuffle its order card into your order deck. This is a very interesting ability that you need to be a little bit careful on, particularly if Vader is near the bottom of your deck, because you can go into a loop if you do not wound. So again, for those who've not played Vader before, or maybe some newer players, this is something you need to watch out for because it can create a very awkward situation where you want to do a deck shuffle, but if Vader does not wound, you have to go again and again and again until he does. He has 12 health and 3 stamina.
Yeah, so 3 force primary, that's effectively 4 because he's regenerating 1 on activation. At 12 health, it's not going to be every game that Vader is wounded, so he's typically just going to use the 1 that he gains, but that leaves him mostly force neutral, which is similar to how we talked about Luke last week. There's a lot of similarities between Vader and Luke on what they're playing, and these boxes came out at the same time. Anger, hate, and aggression in that order is just going to make sure that Vader's consistently doing his job every time he activates, right? Which you mentioned in getting that dash, this is a primary, again, like Luke, that doesn't really do too much for the rest of their team. Even the other version of Vader, Jedi Hunter, has a list-wide ability to add some extra dice, but this version of Vader is a little more selfish. But that ability to dash someone is really good. We've talked a few times that Empire has access to really good out-of-activation movement from a lot of different primaries, like Thrawn, secondaries, like Death Trooper Escort, and Stormtrooper Sergeant, who comes in Vader's box, and we'll get there. But a lot of Empire's movement is either tag specific or it's targeting specifically supports. A lot of them are only supports, but Vader's ability to just move an Empire character is going to help your other primary move, which is going to be pretty relevant in the pairings we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned something there, Kyle, kind of pre-balance, what maybe with a little bit of my hesitation with playing Vader at first was that you're right. He has a bit of a selfish primary, and can be a little bit dice reliant, right? So when he has those flubs on the dice, can be feels bad. And for most of the previous meta, I did choose Moff Gideon over Vader. My perspective on that post rebalance now has changed quite a lot, and I have kind of warmed to Vader in some particular spots. Overall,
you and I
though,
have actually talked about this many times, and I think it's pretty relevant. Like any damage based primary, that's going to live and die on dice. Now,
yes.
Vader's rolling enough dice to make that a pretty reliable attack, but you and I have played a lot of games together, Sean, and a lot of times when you've tested Vader, you've come out of the game feeling like maybe I want to test something else here. I'm not sure if that was working. And I came out of the game feeling like this was a terrible menace that I was afraid to go near anywhere on the table. And I think Vader's going to create this zone of, can Vader get there? And if you put something there and Vader activates, that thing's probably going to be wounded. And that can be very impactful on just opponent's choice to make certain actions, on controlling a section of the board. And as we mentioned, we're in a pretty heavy melee meta right now with a lot of Jedi and Republic running around. And Vader threatens them in melee very, very well.
Particularly Sabotage Showdown as well too. I mean, you and I have had discussions that Vader, one of Vader 2's best spots is on Sabotage Showdown, and with my current testing with Krennic, Vader is playing a very integral part of being the hammer alongside Krennic, with also, like I said, a trooper support to create some very hard decision making for my opponent, right? Do I want to deal with DTS and Vader 2 and these Death Troopers and leave Krennic to his own devices? Or do I want to go deal with Krennic? And then you're right, you have this menace on the other side in Vader 2 that maybe you should have committed some resources there, but you've decided to do Krennic instead. Again, it creates some very interesting decision points for your opponent, and this is the part of the testing that I'm starting to do and kind of warming up to Vader in some particular spots moving forward.
Also important to note with Vader, this is one of the only really good melee units that Empire has access to. The Inquisitor box got to glow up, which definitely helped that space, but they've got a different Vader that they want with them, although I think there is still some space that you could play with this because they do like the movement that Emperor's Servant gives, but overall, this is one of your few melee heavy hitters in the faction, and it's good to have that backup to, especially if you end up on a mission like Sabotage that in a lot of lists Empire, that's not where they want to be.
Yeah. The ability to one shot Galactic Republic supports and potentially even secondaries is a very powerful option right now.
Absolutely. Titus, anything you want to add about Vader?
Not especially. I do note that I feel like there's some room to play around with his shuffling his card back into the deck ability. It just kind of feels like a liability with the occasional upside that, oh, I guess if I draw him turn one, it's not a big deal because he just goes back in the deck. I would like to see him get some use out of that, but I don't think we have the units for it right now. Apart from that, he's a big, angry beat stick, which is what Vader should be. He goes up, he kills something, and maybe he gets some benefit from it, but really he goes and holds a point and kills people.
Sean, taking a look at the trees here for a second, if you're in melee range, you're attacking with Gemso most of the time, I imagine.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, Gemso, and the one thing I love about that too is that jump on 4 can be very nice as well to get Vader potentially where he needs to be post a wounding attack or getting him up onto elevation of a point. A lot of the time I am wanting to try and hit that jump you can hit it fairly often, but like I usually always try and have a plan. Hey, if I hit 4, he's going here, he's going there, right?
Yeah, on Shan, it's in some ways a better defensive side. It's at least more dice. There's no crit mitigation on that side, so I think there's some case back and forth. But a heal in a case when you have 12 health is pretty valuable. That's going to clear a condition you don't want. So that's probably where you're going to want to go for the defensive plays. On Shan, he also has a ranged attack, which
I was gonna know. Yeah, an 8 dice lightsaber throw at times can also be very, very good. Very, very toolbox on this side on Xian, with having the ranged attack. The shoves on 1 and 3 are very nice. I generally don't go up top on the ranged attack. Generally, I want the double shove. But again, on this side, a little bit more versatile than just, move.
Titus is sitting here thinking, but there's heels on the top. Why wouldn't I go there?
Yeah.
You got me. I've done it before. Sometimes
Only
it
when
matters.
absolutely necessary.
I will say that just seeing the range attack and seeing the state that we've seen Jedi in and how much the range attack on Anakin, on Mace has really helped, especially with the ARF troopers. I'm gonna take a stab that Vader really likes the new Death Troopers.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
If you don't have a spot that those need to go for someone like a Krennic, I imagine with Vader that's going to be a good option.
Also, cover 1 as well too, I think is very good. That they'll help some survivability, particularly if you find yourself still in Gemso, which is only 5 dice. I think Death Trooper support cover 1 is very nice there. And then supporting fire dash is always amazing, getting to Vader where he needs to go after the fact.
Yeah, you can pretty easily get Vader across the board with that combo.
A lightsaber throw as well too with pin on 2 is also fantastic on a fully out 3 infiltrate unit.
Yeah, get some damage thrown out. You're probably getting that 1 expertise for that extra damage as well.
Yep, getting a pin.
Yeah, but overall, I think Vader's a primary that has one job, and it's a job that Vader should have. It's
absolutely
to hit things with a lightsaber really hard.
I'm just disappointed he can't throw the terrain at people.
That would have been sick.
Can we get some terrain throwing MCP rules into
Yeah, we're gonna say that's a different game. Yeah. So what comes in this box?
Awesome. The Fear and Dead Men squad pack. As a quick answer, I think this is a must buy for an Empire player.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You get like you said, Vader 2, the best melee primary in the faction, and Stormtrooper Sergeant, who is a very, very fought over secondary. I've had some discussions this week about that. A 3-point cost, going with Vader, and at this point, if you want to run the control list in Empire, Sergeant is a absolute must-have out of this box.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I'm not sure I've ever seen this Vader played without Stormtrooper Sergeant.
I've seen a couple wacky lists. I actually played Vader 2 in the January GT with Bosk.
Yeah.
Remember that? I played V2, Bosk, and Stormtrooper. That was a one and done list for me, but I still did it. It was still good.
But for the most part, Stormtrooper Sergeant's going to be just glued.
Stormtrooper Sergeant, and Dark Troopers has been traditionally the composition with Vader 2.
Yeah, now since the Krennic box, Empire has a lot more good supports to play with in that spot. The base Stormtroopers come in this box, and I actually like these guys.
Mm-hmm. Same. I enjoy them a lot. I played them with... So both Sean and I went to one of our local tournaments playing the exact same Veers and Vader 2 list, and both came away with the exact same response of, it feels good, except that it does badly. Like, it felt like a fun list, but it was close.
They're very high variance, right?
Yeah.
When Stormtroopers hit their dice, it's great. When they flub on dice, it's real bad. And actually, if you remember too, I was going back and forth on playing Stormtroopers in my Thrawn Moff list for a while there, Kyle, if you remember, right? Because of the pin, right? In the previous meta, getting pins out on Spectres was quite important. I ended up not doing it, but it was still an option. But again, yeah, they feel very high variance still, I think.
Yeah, so the few things
they're
they're going
outshined
to do reliably, and especially with our Dark Trooper friends, getting toned down in health a little bit, because I think there was a very obvious they were the best support in Empire, and now that conversation's a little more open. We've seen the new supports with Krennic come in. Death Troopers have 7 health, Shorts have 8.
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
These guys have 9 health, which is actually a very short list. With equivalent to clone armor on the expertise, none of the clones have 9 health. This is going to be, a relatively survivable unit. Nine's a big threshold to cross for to be able to be one shot. if they take in a couple shots from different places and they're very susceptible to a pot shot here and there to soften them up, at that base 9 health, they're tough. The other thing they reliably do, because they're expertise pins. So the one thing that you can rely on their attack to do, when even if it's doing nothing else, is they're going to be throwing out pins. And I do think there's some synergy there with some other things in Empire that really likes those pins. Pin into our current Republic meta, I think, has some value. I think this is a solid box. Adding in the Krennic box, are the standard stormtroopers probably going to be replaced? Yes, but I don't think they're a bad unit at all.
So I have a thought about the pin on the expertise. I haven't run the math on it, but my gut says it's roughly equivalent to a pin on 2 on their normal attack, because it's not quite as reliable as having a pin on 1, because you can flub having expertise a lot more easily than having enough hits to get through. But on a 5-die attack, the expertise becomes much more relevant. So that pin on the expertise becomes much more valuable with Krennic or Veers, because they give 5 dice attacks. And also Veers just really wants pins on everything. But beyond that, I wouldn't value the pin on the expertise quite as highly.
That's fair.
They're a solid support. I think a lot of other factions would love to have a 9 health support. I think Separatists are the only other one that gets that. The Weakway Pirates now.
Yeah, Weakways are 9 health. Yeah,
but that is a small pool of units that get to get 9 health on the support. But we do get some stormtroopers that do some cooler things in some other boxes. But even just playing this box as is, I don't think it's going to be a bad time by any means.
Yeah, good starting point. And again, for an Empire buy list, I think you're right, Kyle. Krennic's a good one. Inferno Squad, I think, just as is as well too, has been a great traditional pairing with Vader, even with the stormtroopers. If you're just getting into Empire, those 2 boxes are perfectly acceptable. Even Moff Gideon, he really pairs well. You can put 2 of those boxes if you're just starting Empire together, and you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, completely agree. So that'll bring us into our list conversation. Sean, you want to go up first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, mine is gonna be just the Krennic in V2 list that I've been talking about most of the episode. It is Director Krennic with Death Trooper Specialist, Death Troopers with Vader 2, Stormtrooper Sergeant, and Dark Troopers. This is my current kind of a list that I'm testing for our upcoming August GT to see if Krennic and V2 can do the things that I want them to do on shifting and sabotage. So far, good success against Mandos, in particular on sabotage. Need to get some good testing in against Galactic Republic. Had some early discussions today. It might be a little bit tough, maybe against Obi, I believe is what you were saying, Kyle, for a few particular reasons. But this is a great pairing. I think Krennic needs a hammer like V2 to assist. The out of activation movement on the wound is great for moving DTS into position, or anybody else you need to be there. Dark Troopers are still good. Coordinated Fire Strain is still great. Not being pushed or pulled is still great. Overall, I think if you're interested in these 2 units, it's a good place to start.
Yeah, I think it's a great list. I think everything synergizes pretty well. And I think I agree. I think if you're looking for just, that 2-box pairing for Empire, and you want to go kick it off with Vader, I think Krennic's box is a great choice. Titus, I think that was your list.
Yeah, so I had thought about it and then found out Sean's been running that mostly. So my next option in terms of what I would go with is the Moff Gideon box. Because, again, it's just a super strong pairing. Moff Gideon does help Vader do what he wants to do, because he adds in a melee dice. It lends a bit more to a control feel to Vader, while still having that aggression there. You have Death Trooper Escort, which is probably the best secondary in the faction, or at least in the running for it.
Yeah, or the game's very fair.
I still think that's Rex, but neither here nor there.
There's a lot of similarities there.
Yes, there is. And then the Dark Troopers are also still very strong. Coordinated Fire is a very good ability. And then not being able to be diceless displaced is a really good counterplay into certain things. So it gives you a bit of a toolbox, but it also just gives you some really good stat lines that can pair well with what Vader is bringing. It does lessen the value of the Stormtrooper Sergeant, because you don't have a second Stormtrooper support. but that's still 3 stormtrooper tags. It's totally doable. It's not like it's a big downside. It's just something that you can keep an eye on for a future upgrade if you want. But I think Moff Gideon is very strong, and the box that he comes with is also very strong. So pairing that with Vader, you're going for generic power with some nice upsides.
Yeah, considering it's not a stormtrooper focused list, I think, 3 stormtrooper tags is plenty to get some value out of it, but I think we've seen most Empire lists not running double stormtrooper supports. And that's because there's really strong options like Dark Troopers, like the Inquisitors to add in, or the ISF, which is where I'm going to go for my pairing. We're going straight murder list. So I'm going Vader, Emperor's Servant, Stormtrooper Sergeant with the Death Troopers, because I do think Vader getting that supporting fire dash is valuable here. I think Stormtrooper Sergeant loves that as well. So I think there's a lot of value being added there. And then we have Commander Iden Versio for some incredible ranged backup for Vader with Death Trooper Escort and the ISF. I think you could still play this with Gideon Hask, no problem, if you wanted to go that full Inferno squad and make it a little easier to get access to. Currently, this list would require 4 Empire boxes to put together, but I think it gives you a ton of movement. I think both primaries hit like a truck. The ISF give you infiltrate to help on those long move missions like Never Tell Me the Odds or First Contact. There's just a ton of synergy to go for one game plan, which is to remove your opponent's models.
I love the Death Trooper pick as well, and something we didn't talk about, and even in my list, the extra dice that Sergeant's giving. One extra dice can sometimes just get you there and be such a factor.
Yeah, I think that supporting fire dash helps Stormtrooper Sergeant so much.
Yeah, that too,
and there's certainly certain matchups where Dark Troopers might be a better choice here, but that comes down to preference and meta. I think
the jury's out, man. Like, I've been talking to some people that say I'm taking deaths over darks.
We talked about Republic earlier in the episode. I think Empire is spoiled with some really good options, especially in the support field at this point. Krennic coming with 2 incredible supports in the box, I think makes that box a must buy for the faction overall, as is Vader, because Stormtrooper Sergeant is going to be needed, and there are quite a few 7-cost primaries. We've got Vader, Thrawn, and Veers, and each of them want Stormtrooper Sergeant. Because he is just an incredible 3-cost secondary. Certainly the best 3-cost secondary in the game. I think no contest.
Yep.
He's really good. He moves and again, his attacks can be a little lackluster, but he moves something, and that is a full advance, which is huge value.
He's core too in our Thrawn episode.
Yeah,
on Thrawn Moff, Thrawn GI. He's an integral part there too to advance a tiebreaker. If you're going GI, he's advancing Dark Troopers up, or any of the other supports. He plays a very significant part in a number of Empire strategies right now.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear what you guys have going on out there. What are you playing with Vader? Where were we wrong? Jump into the Empire chat in the Discord, and we would love to hear what you guys are getting on the table for Vader and hearing about your games.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.